Let's hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some freaking money. It's time for Pocket with Joe. Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I tell you, we're in for one heck of a day. Out there on the ice, we have the Frozen Frenzy today. Yes, all 32 games, or all 32 teams. Thank God it's not 32 games. All 32 teams in action today. It's going to be one hell of a night out there on the ice. Hopefully you guys are excited for it as I bring my microphone down here. I'm not sure why it was still sky high, but it's going to be a great day. Now, yesterday we saw those goals cash and we saw those player props cash. And so hopefully you guys made some freaking money with me here. I want to thank you guys all for joining me here on Pocket with Joe for October 28th. We're going to dive into these games. Now, we're not going to cover every single game here. We're going to cover 10, 12 of those games. And then I'm going to put up a couple of 3-packs for those late action games. I'm going to give you my leans going into it. It's just the problem is with every single team playing today, I don't want this to be a 2-hour show. That's just way too long for us to sit here and go over these. So we're going to kick it off with the game starting at the 6 p.m. Eastern mark. We're going to go all the way through until we hit those very late games. Now, I'm going to tell you, take Utah over Edmonton. I'm already going to give you that look in one of those later games. Get the Utah Mammoths right now. This team's won their last 7. Rolling hot. There's no way I want you guys to miss out on that number, but I will post my Cup of Joe 3-packs, Pocket with Joe 3-packs right after we finish the show as well. So lots of opportunity, you guys, to jump on some money today. Couple of players you definitely want to look at. Sidney Crosby has to make your list. Milestone goals. Alex Ovechkin, John Tavares, and David Pastrnak are each 1 goal away from a milestone. Ovi can become the first player in NHL history to reach 900 goals when the Washington Capitals face the Dallas Stars tonight. So looking for Ovi to reach the 900 goals, definitely a great way to go. We've also got Tavares there for the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Calgary Flames. He is looking to become the 49th player to hit 500 goals, you guys, in the NHL. So we're going to look at John Tavares for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Ovechkin for the Washington Capitals. Those want to make your list tonight. And then Pastrnak can hit a milestone when the Bruins play the Islanders tonight at TD Garden. He's currently in 111th player. He's looking to be the 111th player in NHL history with at least 400 goals. So we're going to look at Pastrnak for the Bruins for a goal. We're going to look at Ovi for the goals and John Tavares for the goal. So those are your 3 key players. And then we're going to keep rolling here on Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby last night, freaking unbelievable. I hope you took him for the goal. He didn't just get a goal. He got a goal and an assist, breaking records out there. So much to jump into for these games today. We're going to kick it off, you guys, with the game here, the Calgary Flames versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, I would love to say with all confidence, Calgary's going to get another win. We know they were able to get that nice win on Sunday. We took them on Sunday to get the win over the Rangers, but Toronto is a different beast out here. Unless the Toronto Blue Jays stayed up late last night watching all 18 innings of the World Series, supporting the Jays, and I probably just said Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto Maple Leafs are a different beast. Unless the Leafs stayed up all night watching the Jays, which the Calgary Flames might have as well. I think everyone was tuned in to the World Series game number 3 last night. Phenomenal game. But I do think the Leafs have the advantage. You got Stolarz between the pipes, and while his numbers aren't fantastic, a 3.31 goals against average and an 885 save percentage, we know the Calgary Flames don't generate a ton of offense. Yes, you look at those numbers, 5-1 versus the Rangers in their last win. Okay, great. But this is still a team The before that game was generating under 2 goals. Now that's bumped them up to 2 goals per game. 27.8 shots on goal, just not getting those high danger shots, even though generating a lot of low grade shots out there. Their power play is only converting at 12.2%. So you can't trust Calgary to come in here with an offense that is so sound here for the Toronto Maple Leafs and be able to get the win. You look at the Leafs, they have one of the best faceoffs in the league, second best in the league at 56.1%. They're going to be able to control the pace of this game. Controlling those faceoffs is pivotal out there on the ice. They're averaging 3.44 goals per game. Their power play is weak. It's only converting at 13%, but they're getting those shots on net. Now, we know Dustin Wolf hasn't looked like himself either this season. He's got a 3.37 goals against average and an 886 save percentage. So looking at this one, Calgary, yes, they're coming off a win versus the Rangers. They look to get back on track, but that was only their second win of the season versus a Rangers team that's struggling out there. So don't let that come into the equation here. The only concern is the Leafs kind of look past Calgary. This is the first night of a back-to-back for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They do have the Columbus Blue Jackets on deck tomorrow. I don't think they're going to look past Calgary here. I think they get on the board early and they dominate. Time of possession, they really use home ice to their advantage. Now, I kind of thought that yesterday we would see on Monday Night Football the Chiefs dominate in the first half. I was going to look here at Toronto to come out strong in that first period, take the first period, but I think you're just better off looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs here in reg. Minus 120 for that regulation bet for the Toronto Maple Leafs today. So you had the NHL play last night, was the Pittsburgh Penguins money line and Crosby for the anytime goal. Nice bet for sure there. Okay. So we're going to take Toronto in reg. Long story short, again, John Tavares for that goal tonight. You want to look at John Tavares to get his 500th goal of the season tonight. 49th player to be able to hit that milestone. John Tavares for the goal is where you want to circle. Now on the other side, you could look at Nazem Kadri here. Nazem Kadri has been able to score the first goal in the Flames' last 2 games. I would just look at Kadri for the anytime goal. I wouldn't get greedy with that first goal, but Kadri and Tavares is where you want to go. We know Austin Matthews, William Nylander. Those are your playmakers for Toronto, and I could see Toronto scoring 3 or 4 goals in this one, winning it a 4-2 style game. So if you want to look at puck line, I don't blame you. I just will take regulation. The Pittsburgh Penguins and the Philadelphia Flyers here. The Penguins are rolling so hot, and we mentioned Sidney Crosby straight out of the gate. Sidney Crosby is the 9th player in NHL history to reach 1,700 points. He got 1 goal, 2 assists last night in the 6-3 win versus the St. Louis Blues. He now has 1,701 points, 632 career goals, and 1,069 points, you guys, or assists. Sidney Crosby is an absolute beast out there. So 1,701 points in his career. Now he has 14 points, 7 goals, and 7 assists in 10 games this season. He also has 134 points, 56 goals, and 78 assists in his career, which is 90 games versus the Flyers. He has been electric versus the Flyers in his career. So when we look at him on the road, still those solid numbers versus the Flyers on the road. 26 goals, 33 assists, 43 road games. Long story short, you want to have here Sidney Crosby to make your card tonight. Now, looking at Malkin has been fantastic this season. Malkin is tied in the NHL with 16 points, 3 goals, and 13 assists for the lead in points. So Malkin has been absolutely phenomenal. Sidney Crosby and Malkin, make your score sheet tonight. I definitely would look at them. When we look here at this game, though, we're looking at a Penguins team that is flying on that power play. They're converting 33.3% of their time on that power play. It's an insane rate. A really good kill here, though, for the Philadelphia Flyers, killing off 87.1% of their opponent's power play opportunities. Now, they're not getting a ton of shots on goal, so Silvos between the pipes here for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and a second night of a back-to-back for them. They were able to get the win last night versus St. Louis Blues. Big win, 6-3. I look for them to come out with fire in this game. We know it's an older team, so you got to be a little concerned about tiring as this game goes on. This is a complete battle between these teams here. I do think the Penguins come out and they come out strong in that first period. Give me the Pittsburgh Penguins first period money line at plus 124. They are entering as a dog, but I do think this is a 4-3 style win for one of these teams. The over 6.5 coming in at plus 104. I do think is a solid way to go. Now, the Flyers don't accumulate a ton of shots on net at 22.4%. They have a weak power play, and I know they've got a strong kill, but I do think between Urgent and Silvos, we're going to see either, I think it's a 4-3 game. I think there's probably an empty netter. If it's sitting, at that 4-3 spot, we could see a 5-3, but I do think there could be the empty netter opportunity as well. In a 3-2 and we get tied up and go to overtime. So there's a lot of situations that come in. I know the Flyers are well rested, and that's why I prefer looking at this game for the Penguins in the first period. Both these teams have been involved in high scoring games this season. 60% of the Penguins games have gone over the total. And when we look at the Flyers, they're going to look to push the pace. Now, we know they picked up Trevor Zegras from the Anaheim Ducks in the offseason, and Trevor Zegras, I do think, will be impactful in this game. He was able to, in that last game out, he was able to get 2 goals, getting on the board for the first time for this team. So I'm looking for him to really step up. He was so solid in that last game. Look for Trevor Zegras to step up for the Flyers tonight, and then Sidney Crosby and Malkin to be your playmakers there in that game. Mo, doing good. Good to see you here this morning. So I think it's going to be a solid one. The Pittsburgh Penguins, can they keep their strong game plan underway? Yeah, I absolutely think they can. So if you want to take the plus money on the Penguins, I'll take first period plus money, but I don't blame you for taking the full game. Let's move on to the Vegas Golden Knights. The Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. Odds on this one, Vegas entering as the underdog. And I know it's so tempting with the Vegas Golden Knights at plus 125. We are starting to see money coming in, though. This was plus 140-ish earlier in the day. The Carolina Hurricanes are now minus 150 favorite. Total sitting at 6.5. Now that 6.5 juice to the under at minus 134. We're having Smid in between the pipes for Vegas versus Frederik Andersen for the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, we look at Frederik Andersen for the Canes. He's gone 5-5 in his career versus the Vegas Golden Knights. He's got a 2.79 goals against average and a 906 save percentage. On the other side, Smid coming into this game nice and pretty solid for Vegas with a 2.67 goals against average and an 896 save percentage. Now, Vegas will be without Mark Stone again. He is listed out with his upper body. Didn't make that last game. Now, one thing I like about Vegas is their ability to convert on the power play. The power play is converting at 27.3%, and their ability to control those faceoffs. They are winning 55.1% of the faceoffs out there. They have a high octane offense that's averaging 3.44 goals per game, 27.8 shots on goal. So Frederik Andersen is going to need to play his best game out here if the Carolina Hurricanes look to get the win. Now, we did just see this matchup back on October 20th. We saw Vegas pull out a 4-1 win. We're also seeing in this one the Carolina Hurricanes off a 3-2 loss on the road to the Dallas Stars. Okay, so when you look at the Carolina Hurricanes off a loss on the road and then coming back home, this is normally a strong suit for them. They get solid bounce back. So looking at them, they've won their last 9 home games off a road loss. So this is a situation where normally you want to bet the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't love the price here that you have to pay on the Canes on that money line at minus 150 with them just losing on the 20th 4-1. I think they're going to struggle to get those goals. We know Vegas is really strong on the kill, 81.5%. They're able to lock down their opponent's ability to get those shots at 25.8%. Now, I know they've lost their last 2 games, so Vegas hasn't looked great. Overtime loss in that last one to Tampa, and if you're losing to Tampa, whose defense has been a mess, you should lose to the Carolina Hurricanes. But I do think this is a game where Vegas stays competitive. I think they're able to hit Frederik Andersen. So instead of taking Vegas straight up, with that plus money. What I'll do is I'll look at their team total. Team total over 2.5 goals. I'm expecting some goals. Yeah, here, even though we have seen Carolina not lose yet at home, I'm expecting Vegas to get 3 goals. So over 2.5 goals is kind of juicy. It's minus 140. I do think a solid parlay piece for you for 3 goals out of Vegas. If you want to fire that up, if you think they get 4 goals in this, it's coming in at plus 176. Now we know Mark Stone out of this lineup, but Jack Eichel has been so solid against the Carolina Hurricanes. He's been able to score a goal in 3 of the last 4 versus the Canes. I'm taking Jack Eichel for the anytime goal. I know Mark Stone is out of this lineup, but you look at the other playmakers and you will see Vegas scoring in this game. I really do think. And when you look at Carolina, they're still allowing 27.8 shots on goal per game. This is a team that last season really can lock down on that defensive side of things and limit those shots. So we're just not seeing that convert as of yet. Now that kill is solid. The kill on both sides is great. 83.9% here for the Carolina Hurricanes, 81.5% for the Vegas Golden Knights. But I do think the Canes just allow too many shots. And with the power here offensively of Vegas, I think Vegas finds a back of Frederik Andersen's net. So it is going to be a great day, Lisa, out there on the ice. Definitely a day to get dizzy watching all of these games. The Frozen Frenzy, you don't want to miss out on. Columbus is hungry and ready thanks to the return of Miles Wood. Go Columbus Blue Jackets. You know I've got a soft spot for the Columbus Blue Jackets out there. Big sis Lisa. And big sis Lisa, I want to thank you for always joining me on Wager Talk for the primetime preview. I really appreciate your support there as well as here on Puck It with Joe. And I want to thank all of you that support me over here on YouTube. We reached 3,800 subscribers this morning on YouTube. So that was a great moment. And then we hit 3,801. So you guys, thank you so very much for always hitting that subscribe button, hitting the like button, and commenting below these videos as they are starting to be pushed out a little bit more. I appreciate you guys. If you're looking for my World Series bets, I put the long form in a video. It was just over 3 minutes, so too long for a short. I did create it into a short, just didn't have my introduction. It was like 43 seconds over. So the short is out as well as a video for World Series game number 4 tonight, baby. If you stayed up, watched all 18 innings, congratulations. I fell asleep. It was like I went into the top of the 18th and I passed out at some point in between there, but it's going to be another great night out there on the diamonds as well. Okay, we're going to move on to that Columbus Blue Jackets game. Just like big sis Lisa just brought up, and hi to your brother Joey. So the Columbus Blue Jackets versus the Buffalo Sabres. This is going to be an interesting one. This is a pick 'em. It's minus 110 either side. We have seen movement in this line. We were seeing Columbus with plus money earlier in the day. Money is coming in on the Columbus Blue Jackets. This total sitting as solid at 6.5 minus 110 to either side of that total as well. Jack Greaves versus Alex Leon should be your goaltending matchup in this one. No solid confirmations. Now, the storyline behind this for me, you got the Buffalo Sabres entering with one of the best kills in the league. They're killing off 93.9% of their opponent's power play opportunities. And then the worst kill here is the Columbus Blue Jackets at 60.7%. Columbus can't get in the box. We do see the conversion here, solid of the Buffalo Sabres at 23.3%, and a weaker ability to score on the power play for the Columbus Blue Jackets, 15%. They are solid at those faceoffs, though, and we do see Buffalo just weak, not being able to win those faceoffs. So Columbus has to do their best to stay out of the box, because if they get in the box, I do think Buffalo can run away with this. Now, this is the first night of a back-to-back for the Columbus Blue Jackets with the Leafs on deck tomorrow. We're seeing them off a win versus the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday. So they were able to get a nice strong win on Saturday, 5-4 in a shootout versus the Penguins. And that was the first loss for the Penguins in quite a while because they'd been on this nice hot streak. Now, when we look at the Buffalo Sabres, they're off the loss to the Leafs in OT Saturday, 4-3. So we're seeing both of these teams coming off losses in either overtime or shootout for Columbus, overtime for the Buffalo Sabres. Now, the Buffalo Sabres do have the Bruins on deck. They will be on the road on Thursday. I'm expecting this one to start off hot and fast. I love the over 1.5. The problem is with the over 1.5, the books love it too. It's minus 152. I'm going to take both teams to score in the first period. If you want to do halfers on a unit with the over 1.5 at minus 152 and both teams to score at plus 144, so that if one team scores 2 goals, you're not missing out on the both teams to score because you got a 2-0 first period. I do think it's a 1-1 first period. Could one of these teams be up? Absolutely. It depends on those penalties out there, to tell you the truth, because I do think if we see Columbus make a lot of dumb penalties in that first period, we're gonna see the Sabres go up 2-1. But I do think this is a first period where both teams score. It's plus 144. Both of these teams are getting a ton of shots on goal. You look at the Columbus Blue Jackets, they're averaging 32.9 shots on goal per game. 4th best in the league, and the Buffalo Sabres averaging 29.3 shots on goal. Jet Greaves, Alex Leon, these goaltenders will allow those goals to come in. Now, their defenses are allowing those shots as well. We're seeing the Columbus Blue Jackets allow 31.9 shots on net, and the Buffalo Sabres 32 shots on net. So those shots are coming. When we look at players, I do think this is a great game to take for those player props. Now, one thing to note, Columbus does play tight road games. They're 6-0 on the road on the puck line. So if you do see the Buffalo Sabres go up right away, coming back in on the Columbus Blue Jackets plus 1.5 will be an auto bet for me. I'm looking to bet that as soon as that does happen. Okay, so let's look at those players. Monahan, you guys know he's one of my favorite out there for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He has 23 points in 24 career games versus Buffalo. When he was playing with Calgary, it was like facing Buffalo, take Monty for the point. I would look at him for a point as well here tonight. Now that he's been with Columbus a couple seasons, I think he gets on the board. Bon Jenner has 14 points in 24 games thus far this season. 14 points in 24 games versus the Buffalo Sabres as well. So Bon Jenner and Shane Monahan, definitely playmakers you want to look at. And then Zach Werenski coming in here, 15 points in 19 games versus Buffalo. So those are your 3. I would look at Bon Jenner and Monahan first. And then when we look at the Buffalo Sabres, Alex Tuch has been able to score 5 goals in the Sabres last 5 games as a favorite. So coming out solid in that favorite role. We've got Tage Thompson. He does lead the Sabres with 4 goals, 8 points. He also has 17 points in 13 games versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. Tage is your 2-pointer today. Look at Tage for 2+ points, and then look at Monty and Bon Jenner on the other side to combine a point each. Now, Zach Benson has been hot for Buffalo. He leads Buffalo in assists with 7. So if you want to look at Benson for the Buffalo Sabres, I would go there as well. Okay, you guys, let's move on to the Anaheim Ducks taking on the Florida Panthers. Now, the Ducks entering as the dog in this one. This team, this is the last game of a long road trip, which is never a comfortable feeling for me. It's game 5 out there on the road. They're gone 2-2. Now, Dostal expected between the pipes. Tarasov on the other side for the Florida Panthers. Your biggest concern with the Florida Panthers is we knew the injuries coming in, but now Brad Marchand, who is one of their best players out there on the ice currently, leading this team with 11 points, 5 goals, and 6 assists, is out for personal reasons. He's expected back sometime in November. So you have another playmaker gone from the Florida Panthers that really is impactful. Now, Sam Reinhart still has been so solid for this team. I would look for him to be impactful tonight in this one. When we look at Tarasov between the pipes for the Florida Panthers, he's got a 3.08 goals against average and an 887 save percentage. In his games versus the Ducks in his career, not bad numbers, a 2.63 goals against average and a save percentage of 914. So I do think it's pretty solid, but that's only been 2 games versus the Ducks. The Ducks have been rolling strong. Now, they did take that loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning on Saturday, 4-3. This is a team that's sitting 4-3-1 so far on the season, 3-2-1 out there on the road. They are 3-3 on the road on that puck line, 3-5 on the season. So when you look at a Florida Panthers team, yes, they're 5-5, sitting right at that 500 mark, 2-8 though at covering that puck line. I think if Florida goes up first in this game, come back in on the Anaheim Ducks plus 1.5. Going into this game, you're not going to get the value on the Anaheim Ducks. Plus 1.5 is minus 168. I want to see Florida score first, and then I'll come back in on the Ducks because I do think they have the playmakers that can keep this one competitive. We also know the Florida Panthers love to lock down on the defensive side. We look at this team and we look at their ability to lock things down. They're second best at limiting their opponent's ability to get those shots on goal, only allowing 24.3 shots on goal per game. Their kill's pretty solid at 78.8%. They are averaging only the 2.5 goals per game and allowing the 2.8. So this is a defensive-minded team currently. Now, when we look at the Anaheim Ducks, it's the opposite, you guys. The Ducks are averaging 3.63 goals per game. They're getting 33.4 shots on goal. So you have one team that's sitting third in generating those shots, but then a second best here defensively at limiting those shots. I don't think they get a ton of high danger shots on Tarasov tonight. Their power play is converting at 30 or 20%, 22.5% here for the Florida Panthers. It is that weakness on the defensive side that kills the Ducks here. They are killing off only 72.7% of their opponent's power play. They're allowing 30.5 shots on goal and 3.63 goals per game. We've got Florida rolling in off a win versus Vegas Golden Knights 3-0. In their last game, Vegas hit Bobrovsky with only 17 shots. If Florida was able to lock down that strong defensively versus the Vegas Golden Knights only allowing 17 shots, I do think this is one they can do the same, give the protection here to Tarasov and limit the Ducks. I'll take the Ducks team total. Long story short, under 2.5 goals. It's coming in at plus 110. Now, looking at their schedule. Friday, they'll be home versus the Red Wings, the Devils on Sunday, then the Panthers on Tuesday next week. So these teams do face each other again in Anaheim next Tuesday. So looking at Florida's schedule, they got a much easier schedule going into the next one. They'll have the Stars on Saturday, and then they start that 4-game road trip with the Ducks. So they've only got one game in between, while we do see 2 games in between here for the Anaheim Ducks. So they will face the Ducks on Tuesday, and then they face the Kings, Sharks, and Vegas out there on the road. So they'll have Vegas again. We have seen the strength of the Panthers at home this season. I know dealing with those injuries, but 4-1. I do think the Ducks under 2.5 plus 110 is the way to go. If the Ducks win this 2-1, so be it. I just want the Ducks under for their team total. When you look at the playmakers here for the Ducks, Troy Terry is leading this team with 3 goals and 6 assists. You've got Granlund listed as day-to-day, which gives me a little bit of worry here for the Ducks. And then Chris Kreider is out with his hand. Why I'm going to take a team total here for the Ducks is because with these injuries for the Ducks on the defensive side of things and with what they've been allowing defensively, if Florida decides to go off tonight here at home, I do think they could score for themselves. We could see a 4-2 win, and that would push us over the 5.5. So I don't want anything to do with the full game total. I just will look at the Ducks team total under the 2.5 in this one. They do start games slow, that is for sure, and then they come out a little bit stronger, for sure. Yeah, we'll do the player point parlay at the end of the show for sure, Mo. Don't worry about that. Boston's goal in first. What is GIF again? You said it yesterday. Vegas Vixen hit 8 in a row now. Already on it today in the first period, plus 1.5. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next game, you guys. We got a ton to go over today. It's an exciting day. Let me know what you think of the Frozen Frenzy. It's really hard. I find it so much harder to focus on the Frozen Frenzy than I do like watching all the NFL games on a Sunday. Something about hockey is just things can change on a drop of a dime. You know, you can switch games on the field and teams are driving. And yeah, you do get those long bombs. But I tell you, the ice is nuts. The Islanders versus the Boston Bruins, Sorokin versus Korpisalo. This one, I'm concerned about Korpisalo. Sorokin and the Islanders are a minus 160, or minus 146 favorite. we've got the Boston Bruins at plus 122, total of 6.5, minus 120 to the under 6.5 in this one. It's plus money to the over, and that's where I got to go. You got to think the Islanders, with how many penalties they take way too many penalty minutes, you guys. Their kill 74.1%. We got a decent power play here for the Bruins at 18.9%. And with what these two teams allow defensively, you got to go over. Now, Sorokin, I do think Sorokin is due for like a lockdown shutout style win, but I'm not sure if it's in this one. Him versus the Bruins in his lifetime has a 2.73 goals against average and a 906 save percentage. We are seeing the Isles roll in here, allowing 3.38 shots or goals per game, 30.5 shots on goal, and taking the 13.1 penalty minutes per game. Taking those sort of penalties is going to cost you, and it's going to put your goaltender in jeopardy. Sorokin this season just isn't looking as solid with a 3.70 goals against average and an 875 save percentage. So I can't trust Sorokin between the pipes, but I can't trust Korpisalo at all. He's got a 4.03 goals against average and an 845 save percentage. Now, we're seeing the Bruins allow 3.82 goals per game, 28.8 shots. Their kill is 79.5%. But this is the second night of a back-to-back off that 7-2 loss to the Ottawa Senators last night out there on the road. So then they've had to travel back home. And then they have the Sabres on Thursday. I do think with all of their defensive issues, with a backup goaltender in here who already has issues, they're so vulnerable on the back end. And I do think we'll see the Isles score. Now, if you just want to take the Isles team total, I don't hate it. You guys, I played around with their team total. I tried to get to the window over the 3.5. It just wasn't giving me as much plus money as I wanted. And with Sorokin's shakiness, unless Sorokin gets a shutout tonight, it's the only way I think it stays under. And then I think it's a 4-0 win here for the Isles. Do I take the shutout now that I've said it? Maybe I'll get to the window, but I'm going to go over 6.5. I do think we look at this one, and even though these teams have been normally lower scoring versus each other and in as a whole, we're not seeing it this year because of those defensive problems. So the Isles have gone over the total in 7 of the last 8 games. And then we've seen the Bruins continuously go over in these games. So they're 6-5 to the over. And after allowing 7 goals last night, I can't expect them with a backup goaltender to be any stronger defensively. Again, we mentioned Pastrnak. You want to look at David Pastrnak for the anytime goal tonight. He's 1 goal away from a milestone here. So Pastrnak coming in, he needs he needs 4 goals to get to 400 in his career. So he hit the milestone. He can hit it if he gets he needs 1 goal to get to 400. So you got to look at Pasta for the anytime goal here. I do think you look at Morgan Geekie as well for the anytime goal. Nice and solid way to look at Morgan Geekie to come out. He's solid at getting those assists as well, but 7 goals, 2 assists on the season. Pasta 5 goals and 8 assists, and Zaka coming in 2 goals and 7 assists. So I do think looking at Geekie and Pasta for their goals, Zaka for the assist. And on the other side here for the Isles, Bo Horvat has been solid. 5 goals, 4 assists. Anders Lee, 2 goals, 6 assists. Barzell, 2 goals, 5 assists. And Schaefer coming out here, 2 goals, 5 assists. So should be a good one. Yeah, and this is my concern. Sorokin does have a new goaltending coach. And Sorokin, I do think, is getting in a better mindset out there. I definitely think this could be the game where we get the shutout. I don't know, you guys. I think there's something happening with Sorokin tonight. If we get the shutout, the Isles team total. What was the value on that again? I'm pretty sure you had to take it over 3.5, and I just didn't love what they were giving me. And then I ran to the window with the over 6.5, but the over 3.5, and this is why it's only plus 104. Plus 104 over 3.5, probably worth a shot. Now let's look at the goalie props here for Sorokin. We're going to take it save shots on goal. Let's take Sorokin over 23.5 save shots on goal. It's minus 125. It's a little juicy. But I do think if we ult him up to over 26 plus save shots at plus 128. It's a nice way to go. We're switching it to from minus 125 to a plus 128. If you think he saves 30 plus shots on goal, which I'm going to put this in as soon as we're done, you guys. Sorokin, new coach, 30 plus save shots on goals plus 320. That's going to make my card tonight. I do think he can get there, you guys. He's got to stand on his head. So then the Isles team total over 3.5 goals. I don't love plus 104. I wanted that at like plus 140, and that's why I stayed off. But I do think it's a solid way to go. Let me know your guys' thoughts on that. Yeah, it is really difficult to get in depth a lot of these games. Now, I love the big slates because you can really pick and choose where you're going to go, and then you can look at those teams that you really want to isolate in these big slates. But it's a heck of a long time staring at these boards, so it does make it harder on these big slates. Goal in the first 10 minutes. Vegas Vixen, I promise you, I'm going to remember that. Goal in the first 10 minutes. It is hit in 8 in a row out there. Yeah, the Senators scored so quick yesterday. So love where you're going with that one, Vegas Vixen. Nicely bringing that to us, the goal in the first. And we know that Boston has every ability to give it up with Corpusalo in between the pipes. So solid way to go there for sure. Okay, we got a bunch more games to go over, you guys. We're going to now look at the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Nashville Predators. The Lightning are minus 160 favorite, and who the hell wants to take an inconsistent Lightning team at minus 160? I surely don't. The Nashville Predators are plus 132. We do have a total of 5.5. Interesting total, but I think the Preds keep this a lower scoring game. The under 5.5 is coming in at plus 108. You've got Andrei Vasilevskiy versus Saros. Now, instead of taking the full game to the under, I will look at the first period under 1.5 goals at plus 104. I do think Vasilevskiy and Saros have really solid games. We've got a great kill out here for the Tampa Bay Lightning, killing off 90.3% of their opponent's power play opportunities, and a weak power play here for the Preds, only converting at 9.7%. So one of the worst. I don't think we're going to see the Preds convert tonight, which helps us with that under 1.5 in the first period. The kill here is strong for the Preds as well at 88.9%, and it's a weaker power play for the Tampa Bay Lightning at 16.1. So it's a lot better than the Preds, but I do think it's still weak. Both of these teams averaging right around that 2.5, 2.6 goals per game. So give me the first period to the under. We have seen Tampa kind of get back on track. They've won their last two. They got the overtime win versus Vegas at home 2-1 in their last game. This is a one-off road game. They are back home versus the Stars on Thursday. When you look at the Nashville Predators, they are off a loss to the Stars at home 3-2 on Sunday. They have a one-off road game versus the Flyers on Thursday. Both of these teams allowing over 3 goals per game, so we're going to have to see that defense really step up a little bit, and that's why I'm looking at the first period instead of the full game. I do think at the price here for the Nashville Predators at home on the money line, give me the Preds to get the win. Now, one thing you can look at too is if the Lightning go up first, if they are the first team to score, hopefully it comes in the second so I don't have to sweat it. They are 0-10 on the puck line in their last 10 games as a favorite. So this isn't a team that's blowing anyone out at all. They're just 2-7 on the puck line this season. So I would look at the Preds plus the 1.5, but I do think the Preds have every ability to win. That's just a look if we do see him go up first. If we do see the Lightning go up first. That's just reading your message on Sorokin. Yeah, it's hard to trust Sorokin right now between the pipes. So we'll see what he's got out there. I do think he's due for that turning point kind of game. So be careful with that. But the Predators plus 132 on the money line and the under 1.5 in this game. I'm going to stay off all player props. The Winnipeg Jets versus the Minnesota Wild. Connor Hellebuck between the pipes for Winnipeg. Winnipeg is the favorite here on the road. They are coming in. Actually, it's moved to a pick 'em. It was minus 115 and minus 105 for the Wild. It's now minus 110 to either side. We do have a total of 5.5. This one should be a good game for the defensive style of things. I know we've got an elite power play here, converting at 32.5% for the Minnesota Wild. But the inconsistencies of this team offensively are there. They're averaging 2.7 goals per game, 30.1 shots on goal. But a lot of those shots aren't those high danger chances. But I do think Connor Hellebuck can be solid between the pipes tonight. He's got a 2.16 goals against average and a 928 save percentage. I'm gladly going to take him over 23.5 save shots on goal. Again, 30.1 shots on goal on average for the Minnesota Wild. And we are seeing the Winnipeg Jets allowing that 30.9. They've got an elite kill here at 92.1%. So look for that kill to offset the power play here of the Wild, but look for Connor Hellebuck to still take those shots on his net and be able to stop over 24. So over 23.5 save shots on goal for Connor Hellebuck. I will look at the Wild's team total under 2.5. We're getting that at plus 126. I expect this to be a defensive battle. Now, we did see the Winnipeg Jets win the 3 matchups last season versus the Minnesota Wild. Their last one was a 5-0 win. I'm expecting them to lock down on that defensive side. But if you expect the Jets to put up those goals on Gustafsson here, he's got a 3.34 goals against average and an 897 save percentage. I'd look at the Jets team total. I don't hate the Jets team total. I do think they could win this in a 4-2 game. If you're looking at a 4-2 game, the Jets team total over 3.5 goals is plus 144. Cal Connor, Mark Scheifele, there's no stopping these guys out there on the ice. And Gustafsson, I really can't trust. There also is a very extremely weak kill here for the Minnesota Wild at 60.9%. So if you don't want to take the Wild's team total under 2.5, because of how strong their power play is, if they are able to get past the Jets on that power play, we could see 3 goals, but I do think the Jets score 4 no matter what. So the Jets team total over 3.5 at plus 144. The Wild's team total, if I can put my words together, under 2.5 at plus 126. I'm hoping to get both of those bets. I think it's a 4-2 win. So I'm going to bet both of them, searching for that plus money. The Jets are perfect thus far out there on the road. And Alex Lafalo out here has scored at least 1 goal in each of the Jets' last 2 road games against the Wild. So Alex Lafalo is where I will go for those goals. You're playing for 2.5 units on the Jets on that money line. Okay. I wish you all the best in that one for sure. Okay. Just give me 1 second here. We're going to move on to the next game. I was just looking at some goaltending matchups, making sure things are not moving out there. You're laying off the Wild, burnt me the last couple games. Yeah. The Wild are a problem team, right? They have their issues out there and they're hard to bet some of these games. You're more than welcome. So the Preds are a hardworking team, top heavy with their talent. They are. And they've got an older team out there, and the older veterans really grind out these games. Let's talk about the Detroit Red Wings. They are taking on the St. Louis Blues. This is a minus 110 either way of it. We got a total of 5.5. Minus 140 to the over 5.5, and the juice is starting to tick up. So I do think we will see the movement as the day goes on to the 6.5. These teams did just play on Saturday. On Saturday, we saw Detroit win it 6-4. So it was a 10-goal game. Now they're giving us a 5.5. It did open at a 6. So that kind of concerns me a little bit. We have John Gibson between the pipes for Detroit, and then Jordan Binnington for the St. Louis Blues. Binnington, 872 save percentage this season. Not looking like the Binnington that I really trust out there. And John Gibson, 870 save percentage. Both of these goaltenders, goals against average is over 3. Both of these teams allowing these goals to come in. The St. Louis Blues allowing 4.33 and 26 shots on goal. Their kills only 72%. Detroit allowing that 3.22, 26.8 shots on goal. Their kill, though, stronger, respectable 84% of the time. Power play conversion sitting right around 21, 22% for both of these teams. Both of these teams averaging 3 or just over 3 goals per game, and right around 26, 27, 28 shots on net per game. Now, the St. Louis Blues are on a losing streak. They have lost their last 4, and this is the second night of a back-to-back off the loss on the road versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. So not only did they lose and play last night, but they've had to travel back home. Detroit hasn't played since they played St. Louis. So they definitely have a rest advantage here, not playing since Saturday. But they have the Kings on deck on Thursday. So this is the first game of a road trip here. So the Kings on Thursday, then they have the Ducks on Friday, the Sharks on Sunday, and Vegas on Tuesday. So they've got 4 hard games on deck after this one versus the St. Louis Blues. I think they get off to a fast start in this one. The Blues on the second night of a back-to-back have been strong, covering that puck line in their last 7 games on the second night of back-to-back. So I don't think they get blown out of the water like we saw in the last game where Detroit covered that puck line. But again, this is a pick 'em. What I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at the over 1.5 and both teams to score in the first period. I expect both of these teams to come out, get those goals in the first. The over 1.5 goals is minus 136 and both teams to score is plus 158, you guys. Robert Thomas is still day-to-day here for the St. Louis Blues. So that does give me a little bit of concern for this team. Jake Neighbors has been so productive for the Blues. So 6 goals and 7 points. And then we know Robert Thomas was getting those assists. So we'll see if he hits the ice tonight. Dylan Larkin leads the Red Wings with 13 points, 6 goals, 7 assists. Alex DeBrincat has been able to get 8 points, 1 goal, and 7 assists. So definitely those are the playmakers that you want to look at. For the Red Wings, again, I'm just going to roll with the first period over 1.5 and both teams to score in the first period. And Anders Lee for the Islanders. You got to love Anders Lee for the Islanders for sure. He comes out nice and strong. He's been able to rack up those points this season, and I think he continues to play strong. For the Isles versus the Bruins today, the Bruins' defensive issues are just a mess. So, yeah, they are playing well. And you're waiting for the wheels to fall off. Yeah, a lot of people always are waiting for the wheels to fall off when Detroit is rolling hot like that. Let's look here at the Washington Capitals. The Washington Capitals are taking on the Dallas Stars. So the Dallas Stars are the favorite in this one. Let's just pull up those lines. They're minus 126. It's starting to move a little bit, you guys. The Washington Capitals are plus 105. Totals 5.5. Juice to the over, minus 132. When you look at that under, I know it's a scary number to take an under 5.5, but I do think the under is the way you want to play this at plus 108. You got Logan Thompson between the pipes here for the Washington Capitals. And while the Capitals are allowing 26.4 shots on goal and have a weak kill at 66.7%, Logan Thompson has stood on his freaking head. He's got a 1.50 goals against average and a 938 save percentage. I do think he can do enough to keep this lower scoring. Now, Jake Ottinger on the other side, his numbers haven't been overly impressive so far on the season with a 2.99 goals against average and an 889 save percentage. But I do think Jake Ottinger has a really solid game in this one. I'm kind of nervous about the under 1.5 in the first period. To be honest, I could see 2 goals in the first period. If we see 2 goals in the first period, we're going to see a 6.5. So if you want to wait and live bet it, but I could also see this playing out, that defense starting right away. So I'll just take the under 5.5 with that great plus money. I do think this is a 2-1 style game for one of these teams. Yes, both of these teams averaging 3 goals per game. We've got a great power play here for the Dallas Stars at 32.3%, 4th best in the league. But I do think this is going to be a game, a lack of penalties and a defensive lockdown. The Dallas Stars are at the Lightning on Thursday, at the Panthers on Saturday. They've won the last 2. They beat the Preds on the road on Sunday. And the Washington Capitals coming in here off a loss to the Senators 7-1. The Washington Capitals off a loss are going to freaking lock down. Now, you do need to look at Ovi because Ovi is chasing those goal marks. So Ovechkin to come in nice and strong in this one. Mikko Rantanen also has been very solid versus the Washington Capitals. He scored a goal in 3 of the last 4 appearances versus the Caps. So if you want to look at goal scorers, I'd look at Ovi and Mikko Rantanen. But otherwise, I do think this is a solid place to play the under 5.5. But we know an under 5.5 still can be a 3-2 game. You can still look at 2 players to get those goals. And the Washington Capitals are such a great solid bounce back team that I lean to the Capitals with the plus money here because they've won their last 10 road games following a home loss. So they bounce back in these losses. And I do think they have the ability to do so here, especially when they allowed the Senators to score 7. So I think it's a solid bounce back. My favorite bet is the under 5.5. And again, that's coming in at plus 108. And then it's the Capitals at plus 105. I just would love a little bit more plus money on the Capitals for sure. Favorite play of the day? Well, it's going to be Sidney Crosby to continue rolling hot. Sidney Crosby has been way too hot for us not to back him to continue rolling hot today. But we're going to look at everything out here, you guys. So those are the main games. That takes us up to the 8:30 mark as the main games. The majority of the slate. There are still a bunch of games that we will talk about in my 6-pack. So I'm going to give you my leans on these, just not as much information. We've already ran almost an hour here, you guys. I didn't want to make it a 2-hour show. We still got 6 more games out there on the board. So the Ottawa Senators, Chicago Blackhawks. This is your game. Allmark versus Spencer Knight that I think we see that hot start out of both of these teams. You got a Chicago Blackhawks team at home here that has every ability to push the Ottawa Senators. The Ottawa Senators have had that lack of defense. I think both teams score in the first period. The over 1.5 hits. And I would look for this one to be even over a 2.5 in that first. I think we got a 2-2 style first period. So higher scoring game. Now you have seen the Chicago Blackhawks off a loss have won their last 8 games versus the Senators. So they got to be off a loss, which they are. It's kind of complicated trend out there. Those trends you don't buy, I don't buy a lot into, but I do think the Chicago Blackhawks are a live dog tonight. They have every ability to get this win. Connor Bedard to come out nice and strong. Ryan Donato has scored at least 1 goal in 4 of the Blackhawks' last 5 games as well. So those are the leans on that. Again, Allmark versus Spencer Knight. I will be putting out the 3-pack Puckett Cup of Joes, 2 of those today. So stay tuned for those for the official bet going into this one. I am looking at both teams to score as well as Chicago to get the win. Connor Bedard and Donato for their points. The New Jersey Devils and the Colorado Avalanche. Jacob Markstrom is back. I want to dig further into the numbers. Jacob Markstrom coming back from injury and how he has done off of rest as well. Not only the injury, they will be taking on Colorado and Scott Wedgwood. Scott Wedgwood has really solid numbers. And if we can get a solid Jacob Markstrom back from injury, we could see this being a lower scoring one. So that is something I'm going to be looking at. New Jersey has defeated Colorado just on Sunday. It was 4-3. So I know we saw that higher scoring. I have a feeling this is going to be a lower scoring game, you guys. Connor Brown has scored a goal in each of the Devils' last 2 games. So stay tuned for the 6-pack. Utah versus Edmonton. Utah stays hot. You guys grab the Utah Mammoth right now here in this game. I think they score in abundance in this one on Stuart Skinner. Utah's won their last 7, and I don't think there's any slowing down of these players right now. You look at Edmonton, yes, they're 2-0-1 at home, but we have a Utah team 4-2 out there on the road, won their last 7. I think they continue. Nick Smoltz has been fire in the 7-game point streak. He has 14 points, 7 goals, and 7 assists in these last 7 games that they've been winning. I'm looking at Nick Smoltz for the 2+ points. Andrew Mangiapane has been strong for the Oilers at home. Still think he's a traitor out there from being once a Calgary Flame, now an Edmonton Oiler, but that's a different story. He's been able to get those goals on the board. Look for Utah to stay hot. We also have the return of JT Miller for the New York Rangers into Vancouver. I do think the issue with JT Miller in Vancouver was him and Elias Pettersson. JT Miller, 2+ points tonight. Will be making my card. I'm uncertain what I'm going to do with Elias Pettersson as of yet. I do think Igor versus Demko, we are going to see an absolute battle between these 2 teams with JT Miller. JT Miller is going to be so impactful in this game versus his former team. This was nasty. Like, these guys didn't get along. So JT Miller is going to do damage tonight. That's what I think. You got Wyatt Johnson there for the Dallas Stars for 2+ points. I don't blame you. For sure. Mammoth got to take it for sure. Mammoth roll over the Edmonton Oilers. And yeah, you got to feel bad for Stuart Skinner. He has been getting a little bit more support for sure. And it's a really solid 1-2 punch out there for the Edmonton Oilers. But I think the Mammoth speed pushes that game. Now you can see those higher scoring first periods, both teams to score. I know Edmonton's going to try to lock down, but I don't know if they can. You cashed a few hockey bets, laid cash last night with Ryan Rust. Anytime goal, Tim Struzel, anytime goal. Absolutely love it. JT Miller runs Pedersen over a 10.5. It's going to be nasty, you guys. That's all I know. It's going to be freaking nasty out there. I don't know what I'll do with Elias Pettersson. I wanted to take him to kind of get the edge on it. And yeah, it's going to be pretty brutal. So JT Miller is going to bring it for sure in his first trip back to Vancouver. Now, Sherwood has scored at least 1 goal in 3 of the Canucks' last 4 home games. So if you're looking at some sort of trend there, we'll give you those trends. Montreal and Seattle, I'm going to be coming to the window with Montreal. The juice keeps ticking up, but they are 0-11 in the last 11 games as a road favorite. So they haven't on that puck line. So they haven't been able to cover the puck line. We do see Seattle solid at home. They haven't lost at home yet this season. 4-2 though for the Montreal Canadiens. They are coming to an end of a road trip though. So I will get in on Montreal in some capacity, maybe a team total for the Montreal Canadiens to the over versus Joey Decord and the Seattle Kraken. So I would be looking there. Newhook has been strong for the Montreal Canadiens versus the Kraken. He scored at least 1 goal in 3 of the Canadiens' last 4 versus the Kraken. I'd look at Sam Montague to come out nice and strong. And then that last game out there is the LA Kings versus the San Jose Sharks. Darcy Kemper versus Askarov. I'm looking for Celebrini and Jeff Skinner to stay hot out there. Celebrini, he's on a 4-game point streak. In those 4 games, he's got 10 points, 5 goals, 5 assists. Celebrini has been electric for the San Jose Sharks. I think he stays electric in this one. Now, we know for the LA Kings, they love to lock down on that defensive side of things. I got to look a little bit more into the LA Kings schedule. Like I said, this is a loaded slate. I've been at my desk for the last 5 hours going over these games, you guys. I dig deep into these games. I look at their past games. I look at their future games. For all of the time that we spend here, I spend hours and hours behind the scenes going over all of this. So I need to dig deeper. I want to look at the Kings' past schedule. I want to look at how they've done prior, and I want to look at, that lineup, because we know Kopitar was out for a while. He's back in the lineup. I want to see where those lines are sitting, but I do think Celebrini, you can't deny him. He's 3rd in the league with 15 points right now. 6 goals, 9 assists. Jeff Skinner has been solid, though. Jeff Skinner's been able to score a goal in his last 4 versus the Western Conference. We know Jeff Skinner has been stepping up. So it's about Celebrini. 2+ points for Celebrini on the LA Kings on Kempe tonight. It's not out of the question. So stay tuned for my Cup of Joe Pocket Cup of Joe 3-pack. The 3-pack will be those last 3 games. It will be the Rangers, Vancouver, Montreal, Seattle, LA, and San Jose. And then the other 3-pack will be Ottawa, Chicago, the Devils, and the Avs, and Utah, and Edmonton. It's going to be a fun night out there on the ice. Brock Besser, anytime goal. Don't hate it at all. Brock Besser has every ability to get that goal tonight. So hit Cousins, power play point at +260, but bummed I didn't pull the trigger on David Perrin at +600. Ouch. I hear you on that, but the +260, great cash there on that power play point. Okay, guys, ready for a recap? Ooh, we've already talked an hour, and that's why I couldn't talk these last 6 games in full detail, because you guys, I don't want a 2-hour show. You guys don't want a 2-hour show. No one wants a 2-hour show. Stay tuned for my Pocket Cup of Joes. It's going to take me 10 minutes already to recap all of the games that we did go over. So stay tuned for this recap. Now we'll get into it. I'm going to list off those players as we go. You guys build those long shot player point parlays. Let me know who you're going to roll with for those long shots. I'm going to take For my long shot, I'm going to take Ovi, Sid, Pasta, all different teams for their points tonight. Put those guys together. We're going to look at that. I'll also look at a couple other guys to throw in there. I'll list them as we go on. So grab your pens, grab your pencils, hit that like button. We've been an hour, you guys. Let's get into the recap. The Calgary Flames versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Give me Toronto in reg at -120. Look for Nazem Kadri to be able to net a goal tonight. And John Tavares, don't forget Tavares is reaching milestones tonight. John Tavares can become the 49th player to hit 500 if he gets the goal tonight. So get John Tavares for a goal, Nazem Kadri for a goal. Throw it into your player points. The point parlay, Kadri and Tavares. The Pittsburgh Penguins and the Philadelphia Flyers. Give me the Penguins first period money line at +124. I do think they have every opportunity of winning, but this is the second night of back-to-back. I want to get in and out quickly with the Pittsburgh Penguins as they are an older team. I will be looking at Sid to come out strong. I do think we're going to see a higher scoring game here. The over 6.5, I do think, is in play at +104. Both of these teams have been involved in higher scoring games. Sidney Crosby is your playmaker and Malkin here. I'd look at both of them for 2+ points. On the other side, Trevor Zegras coming off a really solid game versus the Isles for the Flyers. Remember, he was from the Ducks. That was his first time getting those goals on the board. I think he continues hot here. The Pittsburgh Penguins still allow 30.8 shots on goal, and they have Silvos between the pipes. So Trevor Zegras, I'll take for the goal. If you're looking at the player point, parlay, take him for the point. Sidney Crosby, I'll take for 2+ points. And Malkin, he is tied in the NHL for the lead with 16 points this season. I'd look at him for the player point parlay addition as well. Vegas versus Carolina. You guys, Vegas did just win this 4-1. I think Vegas can score 3 goals here on Frederik Andersen. And I think they have every opportunity to score 4. Vegas's team total over 2.5 is juicy at -140. Parlay piece if you want. Maybe Vegas over 2.5 goals and Jack Eichel to score a goal. Nice same game parlay there. Jack Eichel has been great versus the Carolina Hurricanes, and he's playing fantastic on the season. If you don't want to do a same game parlay with Vegas over 2.5 and Jack Eichel, look at the over 3.5 goals here for the Vegas Golden Knights at +174. The Canes have been great at home. They'll be looking for revenge in this one, but I do think even though they're a great bounce back team off a loss, this should be a game where Vegas can get some goals on Frederik Andersen. Maybe not the win, but the goals. And I don't like the price I got to pay on Carolina on the money line. The Columbus Blue Jackets and the Buffalo Sabres. I'm going to take first period over 1.5 goals at -152. Both teams to score in the first period at +142. If you want to put 50-50 of a unit on that one, I don't blame you. It's the first night of back-to-back here for the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Buffalo Sabres coming in off a loss. I think the both teams to score has every ability. Both of these teams getting a ton of shots. Alex Leon versus Jack Greaves is your goaltending matchup. So both teams to score in the first period, my favorite bet. I'm going to look at Monahan for a point tonight. Throw him into your long shot parlay. Monahan, 23 points in 24 versus Buffalo. Von Janner, 14 points in 24 games versus Buffalo. I think both have the ability. And Zach Weingreski here coming in with 15 points in 19 games versus Buffalo. Those are your 3 playmakers I would look at here for the Columbus Blue Jackets. On the other side, Zach Benson leading with assists for Buffalo. Solid play. Tage Thompson will be my 2-pointer tonight. He leads the Sabres with 4 goals and 8 points. He also has 17 points in 13 games versus Columbus. 2+ points for Tage Thompson. Alex Tuch has scored a goal in each of his last 5 as a favorite. That's just one of your trends. The Anaheim Ducks versus the Florida Panthers. Ducks team total under 2.5 goals. Look for Florida lockdown on the defensive side of things. It's going to be a tricky one with Troy Terry out there. He's been so solid, 3 goals and 6 assists. But Granlund is listed as day-to-day. Brad Marchand is out for personal reasons for the Florida Panthers. Florida has every ability of winning this. That's why I'm not going with a full game to the under, because if they hit Dostal hard, we could see 4 goals 2 out of the Ducks is go over 5.5. But I think the Ducks also have the possibility of winning in a 2-1 because of all the injuries here for the Florida Panthers. So the Ducks team total, no matter what, under 2.5 goals at plus 110. The Isles versus the Boston Bruins. You guys, we flip-flopped as we went over this one. Sorokin, I do think Sorokin has every ability to come out nice and solid between the pipes. I did like this one originally to the over 6.5. Corpuscello between the net for the Boston Bruins. Sorokin hasn't looked great this season, but Sorokin is a better goaltender than we've seen. Boston, I still don't trust, even though they've got some wins. I think they're kind of fraudulent out there. I know Pasta is great, and I'm not denying Pasternak and Morgan Geeky are their playmakers, but I do think the Isles have every ability of pulling off the upset. I'll take the Isles team total over 3.5. That leaves out of the equation what Boston's able to do offensively. That's at plus 104. I am going to fire up Sorokin's save shots on goal up to 30 plus save shots at plus 320, plus 320. My problem with the Isles is the amount of penalty minutes they take, and we do have a decent power play here for the Boston Bruins, and that's why I'm not looking at the Isles any other way than just that team total over 3.5. If you just want to take the over 6.5, that's where I was originally going to go. Bo Horvat, Anders Lee, Barzell are the 3 playmakers, and then Schaefer here for the Isles that I'm going to look at. I would look at Bo Horvat for the anytime goal, Anders Lee for the assist. So you could parlay them for a point each together or throw them in that long shot parlay. Pasta is looking to reach targets out here. Look for Pasta for the anytime goal. Morgan Geeky has the ability to get a goal as well. And Zaka for the assist. So goal, assist is where I'll go in that one. The Tampa Bay Lightning and the Nashville Predators. Give me the Predators home dog at plus 132. The under 1.5 in the first period at plus 104. Under Vasilevsky versus Saros. Look for goaltenders to start off hot. If the Lightning go up first, come back on the Predators plus 1.5 with great plus money. The Winnipeg Jets, give me a big day out of Connor Hellebuck, over 23.5 save shots on goal. I think he stands solid between the pipes versus the Minnesota Wild. I think the Jets team total over 3.5 is a great way to take this. It's plus 144, but I also like the Wild's team total under 2.5 at plus 126. I think this is a 4-2 exact score for the Winnipeg Jets. I will take the exact score 4-2. The Jets team total over 3.5 and the Wild's team total under 2.5. All great money. Alex Lafalo coming out for the anytime goal for the Winnipeg Jets as well. Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, parlaying them together tonight is a great way to go for their points. The Detroit Red Wings versus the St. Louis Blues. Give me both teams to score at plus 156 in the first period for half a unit on the over 1.5 at minus 136. Yes, we did just see Detroit win this 6-4 on Saturday night. They're the well-rested teams. The St. Louis Blues are fallen right now. Free fallen, losing their last 4 games, second night of a back-to-back. Look for Detroit to score. Dylan Larkin and Alex DeBrincat for your player points there for the Red Wings. And then Jake Neighbors for the Blues. He has been solid. Robert Thomas is still listed day-to-day, so kind of scary situation without Robert Thomas. But the Blues have been able to keep games tight. At home on the second night of back-to-back, going 7-0 on that puck line. So if the Red Wings go out first, come back in on the St. Louis Blues. Solid trends to that, and I do think they'll keep this one tighter. The Washington Capitals and the Dallas Stars, the under 5.5 in this game. Logan Thompson can steal a win here for the Washington Capitals. So if you want to take a side, I'd look at the Capitals with that great plus money. The Dallas Stars have Jake Ottinger between the pipes. This should be a lower scoring game, keeping us under 5.5. Mikko Rantanen and then Ovechkin there for the Washington Capitals is where I'd go for those goals. We know Ovi chasing those records, and Mikko Rantanen has been very strong versus the Capitals in his career. When we go into the games that will be part of my Pocket with Joe 3-packs, which are the last 6 games here, I'll give you the lanes quick. The Ottawa Senators and the Chicago Blackhawks. Stay tuned for the official one. So you guys, I'm looking for both teams to score in the first period. A hot start. I do think you want to look at Connor Bedard and Donato to come out and get those points here for the Chicago Blackhawks. Second night of a back-to-back for the Ottawa Senators. I do think Chicago has the ability to get the win. I love a good home dog, you guys. The New Jersey Devils versus the Colorado Avalanche. Again, going to be digging deeper into this, but Jacob Markstrom back between the pipes here. For the New Jersey Devils, Colorado has Scott Wedgwood. I do think this could be a lower scoring game, even though New Jersey did just win this 4-3 in OT on Sunday. I think we start off kind of slow as both teams play defensive battles. I'd look at the under 1.5 in the first period. Connor Brown has been nice and strong out there for the Devils. Utah, rolling hot with the Utah Mama. Take Utah on the money line. I don't care. Edmonton's going to give up those goals to Utah. They're going to try to defend Skinner, but I do have more faith in the Utah Mammoth right now. Nick Schmaltz has been so strong. 14 points, 7 goals, 7 assists during the 7-game winning streak here for Utah. Look for Nick Schmaltz to come out, get 2+ points in this. So Tage Thompson, Nick Schmaltz, 2+ points. Past a 2+ points for the Boston Bruins too, if you like that Bruins game, is where I would go. But then Andrew Mangiapane here for the Edmonton Oilers has been strong at getting those goals. The New York Rangers and the Vancouver Canucks, all about JT Miller returning to Vancouver. First time back here, 2+ points for JT Miller. Elias Pettersson, I'm still waiting to see what we're going to do with him with Vancouver. The controversy between those two, it goes beyond what you've heard in the press. I've talked and I've heard stories from players out there, past players, and this is not a pretty storyline between these two. JT Miller is going to look to be the hero of this game for the Rangers. I think the Rangers might win this one. Demko between the pipes. The Rangers rolling in as the favorite. It kind of spells the Rangers are getting it done. The Montreal Canadiens versus the Seattle Kraken. I do think Montreal can go over their team total 3.5. Again, I'm going to dig deeper into this game. Alex Newhook, he has been strong versus the Kraken, so I'd look at him for the goal. And then the LA Kings versus the San Jose Sharks. Again, going to dig deeper, but I do think you're best looking at Celebrini for the point, Jeff Skinner for the point for the San Jose Sharks. This Shark team only has 2 wins on the season. I find it hard to believe they'll beat the Sharks today, the Kings today, but +1.5 might be the play here. I'll look at Celebrini to continue to roll hot. He's been so great. 10 points, 5 goals, 5 assists in the last 4 games. It's just been absolutely phenomenal what Celebrini is doing out there. So you hate the Rangers. You're rolling with the Predators, Utah Predators moneyline parlay. I don't hate that at all. I think that is a great way to go. I've got the Predators and Utah both getting the wins today. Favorite for the 2+ points, JT Miller for 2+ points, Tage Thompson for 2+ points. Where else are we going? We're going to look at those two. So Nick Schmaltz for 2+ points. So JT Miller, Nick Schmaltz, Tage Thompson, and there's one other that I'm liking. Who else am I liking? I think that's, you know what? I like those 3 more than anything. So Tage Thompson, or, you could look here at Monahan as well. Monahan has been so solid. So Tage Thompson, Monahan, I think both can get 2+ points. Jack Eichel can get 2+ points for Vegas as well. JT Miller for 2+ points in his game back in Vancouver. So that's where I would go with those 2+ points, you guys. It's going to be a hot night. Kings money on. Yeah, the Kings should win it, right? But they're like a $2 favorite. So Joe hit the birthday goal with Timo Meier last season, I recall. Yeah, we had Timo Meier. Birthdays. Whose birthday is it today out there on the ice? Eichel, birthday goal. Eichel. 2+ points for Jack Eichel. Eichel for the anytime goal. Jack Eichel has been able to light up the Carolina Hurricanes. So you definitely want to look at Jack Eichel tonight. Where's my stat on Jack Eichel? He has scored a goal in 3 of the last 4 versus the Canes. Jack Eichel for the Hattie. Vegas to get the win. Don't hate it. Birthday goals coming in. You guys, that's it for Puckett with Joe here. It's okay that you are late. Vegas, I'm scared. I'm scared of Vegas too. Vegas, they need to get this win. Macklin Celebrini, yes, 2+ points for Macklin Celebrini. Connor Bedard for 2+ points. I like it as well. Versus the Ottawa Senators on a second night of a back-to-back. The Sens defense is atrocious, even though Boston was unable to score on them yesterday, really. So I appreciate you guys so much for being here, like so very much. Thank you for joining me for Puck It with Jo. I know the times have been a little inconsistent as of late. Life has been busy. We're not getting a ton of viewership on the live shows, but I am going to try to keep it at this 1 p.m. Eastern mark. We've gone an hour and 20 minutes. Stay tuned for my Pocket Cup of Joe 6 3-packs. 2 of those will be up. So stay tuned for that. My Cup of Joe for the MLB World Series Game 4 tonight is already up. So make sure you do check that out, you guys. And then we also have, what else do we also have up? Picks and Parlays. I am on Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern. So do check that out. Wager Talk, primetime previews. I am on at 7 p.m. Eastern on Mondays and Thursdays. So check that out as well. I am covering for Kelly on Saturday for your last call for college football. You want to make sure you check that out as well. But you guys, I need more coffee. I don't know about you, but how deep into the World Series did you make it last night? So I passed out somewhere in the top of the 18th inning, somewhere in the top there. I fell asleep. I thought maybe I saw us going to the bottom of the 18th. Not sure if I quite did. I know I got out of the 17th. I'm not sure how far into the 18th. Can't remember. I was trying to stay awake and watch. Did wake up on the couch at 3 a.m. my time. So confused. Checked the score and saw that the Dodgers got that 6-5 win. So you guys made it into the 18th inning. So proud of you guys. I tell you, I never thought that game was going to end last night. Can we get extra innings again tonight? We will see. I am dead tired today. Need a ton more coffee. Stay tuned for those Puck It with Jo recaps of those last 6 games for sure. But you guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. Drop below this video who you're liking tonight. Those long shot parlays, whatever you're building out there, I want to hear it. So let me know those parlays. I look at those parlays that you guys drop. And if you're winning, firstly, I'm going to talk about it, but also I want to win with you guys. So if you got something for me, let me know. And I appreciate it. The Jays had their chances. I know the Jays had a ton of chances out there. It was a hard one. So let's get going, you guys. I will talk to you tomorrow. We've only got what? Is it 2 games tomorrow or is it 1 game tomorrow? I remember looking at the schedule. It was last night, 1 game. Toronto versus Columbus tomorrow is your look ahead game, 1 game. And then Thursday, we are back to a loaded schedule. Not as bad. Thursday, we will have 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 games. So not fully loaded. But you guys, all the best in all of your bets. Thank you so much for joining me here on Puck It with Jo. Until next time, stay hot. Let's make some freaking money. See you tomorrow. Go over the 1 game. See